welcome to a new session at Graduate Guru. We are doing the topic Final Accounts of Banking Companies. Last session we have completed the different schedules of balance sheet. So हमने पूरा balance sheet का format कर लिया है and we've seen how to show the different amounts in the different schedules. Now this session we are moving on to the profit and loss account. So let's first see the basic format and then we'll go to the detailed schedules of profit and loss account statement. So profit and loss account is divided into basically income and expenditure like any profit and loss account. Income, the major income of any bank would be interest. क्योंकि बैंक का main काम है accepting deposits and giving loans. So on the loans which the bank gives, on the advances जो हमने last session में schedule देखा था for advances, उन सारे advances पे bank earns some interest. So that interest, total interest is shown under interest earned, and if there is any other income. So the other income is not that important because bank के लिए major income will be our interest income. Other than that, if they have any other income like investment income etc., that will be shown over here. Then going to the expenditure side, again interest expenditure is another expense which is the major expense of any bank. Because when they accept deposits, जब हम हमारे पैसे बैंक में रखते हैं in savings deposit or in fixed deposit, the bank gives us interest. So वो interest हो गया बैंक के लिए expense. So on the deposit, the interest which the bank is paying, all of those are shown over here. We'll see in the schedule what is the breakup of that interest. Then we of course have operating expenses because bank is running from a office setup. So वो ऑफिस चलाने के लिए जो भी एक्सपेंस होगा like salary or maybe depreciations or whatever other expenses are spent at the office level, that will come under operating expense. That again has a separate schedule. And then we have provisions and contingencies. For a bank, the major loss happens जब जिन्होंने लोन लिया है they don't return that loan back. So there are some rules which have to be followed and they have to write off the amount in a particular manner. So अगर उन्हें लगता है that this loan now is not recoverable, how will they write off that loan? So that amount which is written off generally is categorized as provisions. So whether I call it provision for bad debts या अगर हमें tax pay करना है उसका provision हो गया या for any loss, whatever provision I am making, all those provisions are clubbed over here. And the beauty is that they don't have to show any schedule. So the bank can create a provision more than what they require. And in that situation also, they don't have to show any explanation. Direct एक amount आ जाएगा in your income and expenditure or your profit and loss account. They don't have to show what those provision amounts are. They may be creating a rough schedule जहाँ पे they maintain that कितना amount किस चीज के लिए provision किया है, but they don't have to disclose it to the public in any case. So finally, after doing this plus minus, that is income minus expense, I'll get the net profit or loss for the year, and to that we add previous year's profit or loss. That is the accumulated profit from the last few years that will be added, and that gives us our total profit or loss. If there is a profit, I use that profit and that is called appropriations. So how do we use the profit? Banks have to maintain some compulsory reserves. Statutory reserves is nothing but compulsory reserve. So जब उन्हें certain amount of their profit they have to transfer to this reserve every year. So that will be shown. Any other reserve if the bank is maintaining, not a provision, I am talking about pure reserve, जैसे हमारा general reserve हो गया, revenue reserve हो गया. So that reserve transfer will be shown. Then we have transfer to government or proposed dividend. Now generally banks cannot directly pay a dividend till their amounts are settled. You know there are certain rules for paying dividends by the bank. So जब जिस year में they cannot pay a dividend, they have to transfer a certain amount to the government. So either I am transferring to the government or I am actually paying dividend to my shareholders. So whatever situation, that amount comes here. And finally whatever amount remains. So जो भी हमारा यहाँ पर total profit था, out of that profit when I use up when I transfer all these amounts, the balance amount is carried down to the balance sheet. If you remember our schedule 2, which we did in session 1, वहाँ पर P&L account is shown as a separate head, and that is this amount which I will take from here to the P&L account. So now let's quickly go through the schedules. Just like we saw the balance sheet schedules, we'll see the schedules for the P&L account, and the first one is schedule number 13. It's continued. If you remember last session, the last schedule that we did was schedule number 12. That finishes my liability schedules, and the profit and loss account schedules are continued after that. So schedule number 13 is for interest earned. That is the major income of the bank. Now in interest earned, we have number 1, interest or discount on advances. So interest, obviously when we have given loan, तो हमें interest मिलेगा. But if I have discounted a bill, so it is not called interest, it is called discount. So interest and discount are clubbed together and they are shown as one head. So interest or discount on advances, or here you can write down bills so that you don't get confused. Then we have income on investments. So that is also a part of our interest earned. If I am earning any income or interest on my investment, as a bank, if we have invested, just like we saw in the investment schedule, जो भी हमारे investments है, उस पर जो भी income आएगी, that is also taken here. Then we have interest on balance with RBI and other interbank funds. We had seen in our balance sheet schedules that a bank can invest in other banks. It can also invest in RBI, it can also invest in other banks. So, उस deposit पे जो हमने दूसरे बैंक में डाले हैं, उस पे whatever income I get, that is shown separately. And finally, we have others. So, any other interest that the bank earns will be shown over here. So, this will be our interest earned schedule. Then we have other income schedule, which is schedule number 14. In other income, first we have commission, exchange and brokerage. So if the bank is acting as a broker or as an agent for somebody, it may earn some commission or brokerage. Foreign exchange transactions may be, they earn some kind of a difference, which is the exchange. So all of that is shown under this head. Then we have profit minus loss on sale of investments. So because we have investments as an asset, हम उसे बेचकर we can either make a profit or a loss. So depending on whether you've made a profit or a loss, so if there is a profit, you show it as a positive figure. If there is a loss, you show it as a negative figure. Same way, profit minus loss on revaluation of investments. What is revaluation? जब हम investments के cost को उसके market price से compare करते हैं and we bring the market price into our books. Suppose we are sure that अब ये investments की value यही रहेगी, it will not change. So I want to bring that value into my books. In that case, I have to show a revaluation of my investments. Suppose I purchased investments for say 10,000. Today its value has gone down to 8,000 and I feel that अब वो 8,000 से नहीं बढ़ेगी. So what I want to do is I want to show the investments in my books at 8,000. So I will suffer a loss of 2,000 because I purchased for 10. Today I am saying it is worth only 8. So that loss is shown over here. If it's a profit, if there is an increase in the value, it will be a profit and that will also be shown over here. So profit minus loss, again profit will be positive, loss will be negative. Then we have again profit or loss, that is profit minus loss on sale of fixed assets. So that will include our land, building, etc. So whatever fixed assets the bank has, if it is selling that, then उसका profit या loss हम यहाँ पर ही बताएंगे as other income. Then we have profit on exchange transactions. This is basically our foreign exchange transactions, and foreign exchange transactions are very peculiar because currency की value change होती रहती है, and because of that I may suffer a loss or profit. Not actually profit or loss, but only because of the difference in the exchange rates there may be a profit or loss. So that is also shown over here, the profit earned on the exchange transactions, and again just like this, if there is a loss we subtract. So profit minus loss on exchange transactions. Then we have income from dividends. So we have dividends etc. from shares, subsidiaries. We've already seen in investment that a bank can have a subsidiary or a joint venture with some other entity. So उस पर अगर हमें कोई profit हो रहा है या हमें कोई dividend मिल रहा है because we have invested in their shares and we are getting some dividend from that particular company or subsidiary or joint venture, then that will be shown separately over here. And then finally we have miscellaneous income. So any other income which is not listed either under this interest schedule or under the other income schedule, that will be shown as other income. So this is our income side, basically our schedule number 13 and 14. Take this down, then we'll go ahead with schedule 15 and 16. So now let's go to schedule number 15, which is interest expended. Expended is nothing but spent. So जो interest bank pay कर रही है, that interest is shown over here. So first we have, it's a very small schedule. So we have interest on deposits. That is all the deposits which the bank has taken. जैसे हमारी savings bank deposit हो गई, recurring deposit, fixed deposit. All these are deposits which the bank takes. So any deposit which the bank takes, they have to pay interest on that. So bank के लिए वो हो गया expense. हमारे लिए it is an income, but for the bank it is an expense. Then we have interest on RBI or interbank deposits. So जैसे बैंक invests its money in RBI और other banks, वैसे ही दूसरे बैंक या RBI भी बैंक में invest कर सकते हैं. So on that, if they are paying any interest, that is to be shown separately. And finally, like all schedules, we have others. So any other interest which the bank is paying, that will come over here. So this will be our total of interest expended. And then we go to our last schedule, which is operating expenses. Now basically this covers all the basic expenses like salaries, rent, etc. But there is a list given and we generally have to follow the format. So I'll quickly write down that list. So first is payments to and provisions for employees. So generally employees से related जो भी expense होगा, which generally includes salary, staff welfare, etc. All that will be included in this particular amount. Then we have rent, taxes and lighting. So these are basically all your expenses related to the premises. जहाँ से हम बैंक चला रहे हैं, उस premises के लिए expenses हैं. So if you are paying rent, if you are paying property taxes, here taxes means property taxes, and lighting, electricity, your electricity bill basically, all that will come over here. Then we have printing and stationery, which is a normal expense head. Then we have advertisement and publicity. These days we see a lot of banks advertising their different policies, etc. So they spend on advertisement and that is shown separately. Then we have depreciation on bank's property. So whatever assets the banks has, uska depreciation आ जाएगा. Then we have directors' fees and expenses. Because a bank is also a company, bank also has directors and directors को जो भी हम amount pay करते हैं, that is shown under directors' fees and expenses. Then we have similarly auditors' fees and expenses. In a bank, they have regular audits and as compared to a normal company, bank audit पे ज़्यादा खर्चा करती है. Of course, they are dealing with the public money, so that has to be safe all the time, and that is why audits are conducted regularly. And auditors' fees and expenses is a major expense head. We have law charges. So any kind of legal expenses which the bank pays, that is shown separately. We also have postage, telegram, telephone under one head. Telephone, etc. Then we have repairs and maintenance. So any kind of repairs to any property, that is all clubbed up under this head, repairs and maintenance. Again in our sum we will write only what is required. जो है sum में वही लिखेंगे. We will not make the full list. But this is an exhaustive list and this is under our format. So insurance basically includes your premium paid for insurance. And finally we have other expenditure. So this will give us our total operating expenses. So basically only 4 schedules for our income expenditure, that is P&L account. Other things are without a schedule. As I said, provision and contingencies, even though it's a major amount in any bank's P&L account, but still you don't have to show that as a schedule. Okay. So take this down, these 2 schedules down, and then we'll go ahead with some other calculation. Now let's go to another topic related to banks, which is very peculiar to banks. वो हमें और companies में ये नहीं मिलेगा, this particular head, and which is rebate on bills discounted, also called unexpired discount. Now what is this? First of all, it is discount. Now discount कब मिलता है बैंक को? When is it their income? When they discount the bill for some customer. So as I explained to you earlier also, bank के पास customer will come with the bill. The bank will pay the bill immediately to the customer, and because they are paying him an amount today instead of him waiting for 3 or 4 months, therefore they deduct a small part. So let's just take an example. Say there is one Mr. A and he comes to the bank with a bill of say 1 lakh rupees. Now that 1 lakh rupees का जो bill है, that is going to become due say after 3 months. So today say we are on 1st of Feb, and on 1st Feb Mr. A comes with the bill. That bill will be due in the next 3 months. So after Feb we have March, April and May. So 1st May को technically that bill becomes due. Now if Mr. A waits for 3 months and then collects the amount, he will get the amount on 1st of May. But he is in need of money. So he wants the money today itself. जिस दिन उसके हाथ में bill आया, he wants ready cash. So instead of waiting for 3 months, he goes to his bank. वो बैंक को जाके approach करेगा and he'll tell the bank that please pay me the money of this bill today. On 1st May, you take the money from that other party. So the bank is paying Mr. A an amount 3 months in advance. So वो advance pay करने के लिए they will charge an amount from Mr. A, and that amount is called discount. So that concept we already know, we've done in our earlier years also, bills of exchange, bill discounting, when bill gets honored, when bill gets dishonored, all those concepts we've already done. So we are aware of what happens from the customer's point of view. Now we have to see what happens from the bank's point of view. So now bank has taken the bill from A. They have paid the full amount to A after deducting a part as discount. So वो हो गई उनकी income, because that amount they have retained. 1 lakh का bill है, suppose they gave A only say 98,000. So 2,000 is the discount and that is their income. Now we talked about the date as 1st Feb. The bill will become due on 1st of May. So let me write it down for you. The present date is say 1st of Feb. But the due date of the bill, technically when we count the due date, we add the number of months and we add 3 days to it. So 1st Feb, say if I take 3 months, March, April, May, 1st May, and you add 3 days to 1st May. So as per our legal law, our due date becomes 4th of May. Okay, so that is plus 3 months. Fine. So today the bank has earned a discount of 2,000. But this discount is divided into 2 years. हमारा financial year कब खत्म होता है? 31st March. So a part of this discount belongs to this year. A part of the discount belongs to the next year. So that amount which belongs to the next year, मैं इस साल के income में नहीं ले सकती. So I have to distribute this discount into 2 parts. The current year and the next year. And this next year's discount is called rebate in this year's accounts. So for this calculation, I need to know that when is my due date in the next year. So 31st March के बाद कितने दिन हैं जो कि next year में आ रहे हैं, and उतने दिन का discount I have to proportionately subtract from 2,000. So in the current year 2,000 पूरा income नहीं दिखाया जाएगा. It will be a little lesser than 2,000, and whatever I am deducting, that will be next year's income. So in this year, it is my liability. Why? Because I have received that income in advance. So that amount, rebate amount जो हम दिखाएंगे, that will be shown as other liabilities in our balance sheet schedule of other liabilities and provisions. Okay, so that is basically our concept of rebate. Now, how do we calculate the rebate amount? So our rebate will be equal to the amount of bill, that is in our example, if I take 1 lakh as the amount of bill, so that amount of bill into the discount rate, which again will be given to you in your question as to at what rate the bill has been discounted, into the number of days from 31st March till the due date. So again in our example it will be from 31st March to 4th of May and upon 365. What is this 365? It is the total number of days in the year, because this discount rate is always for the full year. So I am breaking up that discount into two parts. So I am considering कि next year में कितना rebate मेरा जाना चाहिए, कितना discount next year को belong करता है, which I should not show in my income of this year. Okay. Now based on this, there are a few journal entries which I'll discuss. But first and foremost, I want you to take down this formula. So take this down and then we'll go to the journal entries. So let's see the entries which are concerning bills discounting as well as the rebate as I explained. So the first entry is for actual discounting of the bill. Now generally if I see from the customer's point of view, customer को cash मिलता है. So he says cash account debit, discount account debit to bills receivable account which he gives to the bank. But for the bank it is completely the opposite. So for the bank, the entry is, they are getting the bill. So bills purchased and discounted account debit. So they are debiting the bill which is coming in. They are earning the discount. So उनके लिए discount income है. So I can either call it discount. But as we saw in our interest earned schedule, the discount and interest are shown as one account. So here also I'll write it as to interest and discount account. You can also say to discount on bill account, that is also acceptable. Finally, you are going to put it in the interest account only. And to customer's account. So if I know the name of the customer, then that. Otherwise, if it's a general entry for all the customers, then I simply say to customer's account. So this is when the bank discounts the bill. So यहाँ पर पूरा bill का amount आ जाएगा. Whatever is the discount which they are deducting, जैसे हमारे example में 1 lakh का bill है, तो 1 lakh will come here. 2000 discount I gave you example, so 2000 will come to interest. So customer's account gets credited with the difference, which is 98,000. Now, when I recover the bill amount, that is, हमने क्या बात की that suppose 1st Feb का bill है, it is due on say May, 4th May, then it goes in the next year. But suppose that is not the situation, ये bill इसी साल में due हो रहा है, that is say 1st June का bill है and it is getting due on say 4th of August. Then I get the amount for that bill, bank bill लेकर उस दूसरी पार्टी के पास जाएंगे and they will recover the amount from that bill. So, bank account debit, you usually get a credit in your account and we will reverse this bill entry. So, to bills purchased and discounted account. So here we had got the bill. When I get the money, I have to tear up the bill, cancel the bill or give away the bill to that party. So that bill goes out of my hands and I credit it. Now what happens to this customer? Generally, banks have separate accounts for their customers. So जैसे ही उनको payment मिल जाएगा, ये वहाँ पर effect हो जाएगा, that ledger will be set off. Okay, so there is no particular entry for this. This is just a temporary account created. Okay, so don't get confused with this. This customer's account will not be touched at all. Now coming to the rebate. Suppose ये bill discounted है और this entry was for getting the money in this year itself. But suppose I am going to get the money in the next year. Then I am going to create a rebate on that bill. So then what is my entry? Interest and discount account debit. To rebate on bills discounted account. This is the liability which I am talking about and that is why we are giving it a credit. Okay, so यहाँ पर जो interest हमने credit किया था as our income, a part of that income does not belong to this year. So I am cancelling that income. इस साल की income से वो मैं निकाल रही हूँ. So here it's a credit. Reversing it, I am giving it a debit over here. And where will the credit go? To my separate account called rebate account. This rebate account which has a credit balance will appear as a liability in my balance sheet, in the closing balance sheet on the closing date, that is 31st March. Okay. Now after doing all this, जो हमारी net income है, that is this interest and discount is our income. So that has to be transferred to our P&L. So that is a simple entry for transferring any income. We debit the income, interest and discount account debit, and we take it to the credit of P&L. So to P&L account. So this is done with all the incomes and expense है तो ये reverse हो जाता है, but here we are only talking about the income component. Okay, so that is done. Now this is another important effect. यहाँ पर जो हमने closing create किया, this is on 31st March. Very next day, on 1st April in the next year, I have to reverse that entry because यहाँ पर I removed it from my income. It was not the income of this year, so I removed it. Now next year it becomes my income again. So for that I just simply reverse that entry and it becomes rebate on bills discounted account debit to interest and discount account. So now next year again this becomes my income. So I am simply reversing that entry. So sometimes your sum will start with this entry. Why? Because sum में दिया होगा that last year में हमने इतना rebate create किया था. So when I begin the sum, I will reverse that last year's rebate. Then I will go on with my normal entries for the current year, that is bills discounting, receiving the amount and all. And finally जो उस साल का closing rebate होगा, for that again I will pass this entry. Okay, so take down these entries. I wind up the session over here. Next session we'll be doing some sums based on this concept. Thank you.